This is the story of KG Motors, the Mibot, and what a single-seat electric pod says about where mobility is actually heading. The Mibot measures 2,090 millimeters in length, which works out to roughly 82 inches, making it shorter than almost any four-wheeled vehicle currently sold anywhere in the world. Its height stays under 1.5 meters. These dimensions were chosen specifically to fit inside the narrow alleys and residential lanes of suburban and rural Japan, places where even Japan's famous K cars, themselves already compact by global standards, sometimes don't fit. Inside, there is one seat, not two, not a cramped back bench, just the driver. The dashboard is stripped to essentials. No touchscreen, no connected apps, no driver assistance software. The Mibot is a tool, and KG Motors designed it to look and feel exactly like one. The electric motor draws from a lithium-ion battery pack that delivers a range of up to 100 kilometers per charge, with a top speed of 60 kilometers per hour. A full charge takes 5 hours through a standard household outlet. No special infrastructure required. The chassis uses a monocoque frame, a single-shell structure borrowed from aerospace and motorsport engineering, which cuts both weight and parts count simultaneously. Estimated vehicle weight comes in well under 400 kilograms, placing it legally in Japan's moped minicars category rather than standard passenger vehicles. All of that engineering discipline leads to one number: 1 million yen, or roughly $7,000 before taxes. The Nissan Sakura, Japan's best-selling EV, starts at 2.5 million yen. BYD's upcoming Japanese market entries are expected to arrive at a similar price point. When KG Motors opened reservations in fall 2024, over 1,000 pre-orders arrived in the first month. By May 2025, that number climbed to 2,250 units. The company's planned production through March 2027 totals 3,300 units, meaning buyers had already claimed more than two-thirds of that supply before a single production car had been delivered. For context, Toyota sold approximately 2,000 battery electric vehicles across all of Japan in 2024. BYD, in the same year, edged past Toyota with 2,200 units, a number that drew considerable industry attention. KG Motors, a 2-year-old startup with no showrooms, matched those figures through pre-orders alone. The first 300 units are scheduled to delivery by March 2026. KG Motors has been open, expecting a loss on this initial batch, given the cost structure of low-volume manufacturing. Profitability is targeted for the second production cycle, after which the company aims to scale toward an annual capacity of 10,000 units. A notable share of those pre-orders came not from private buyers, but from commercial operators, rental companies working the Fuji 5 Lakes region, delivery services looking at last-mile logistics, and operators similar to 7-Eleven Japan, which already deploys moped minicars for urban deliveries. That commercial demand could provide the consistent volume needed to keep production running even if private adoption remains slow. One question that comes up immediately with any vehicle this small is structural safety. KG Motors addressed it directly. The company publicly released crash test footage showing the Mibot colliding with concrete barriers at high speed, a deliberate move to demonstrate that the monocoque frame holds under impact rather than crumpling around the occupant. Cold weather testing took place in Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island, where winter conditions include ice, snow, and sustained sub-zero temperatures. Urban navigation tests ran through the narrow historic streets of Kyoto and parts of Hiroshima Prefecture, routes lined with traditional wooden buildings and near-zero tolerance for error. Safety certification through Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism is currently being finalized ahead of the commercial launch from the Higashi Hiroshima facility.
KG Motors has announced plans to export 3,000 units to international markets after completing the first domestic batch, with that expansion window running from 2026 to 2027. The logic is straightforward. The conditions that created demand for the Mibot in rural Japan exist in cities and towns across Europe, North America, and parts of Asia. Narrow streets, aging populations, shrinking transit budgets, and parking shortages are not uniquely Japanese problems. The global micro-EV market was valued at approximately $8.9 billion and projected to grow at a compound annual rate of around 10.8% through 2031, potentially reaching over $24 billion. Competitors are already moving. Switzerland's Microlino has its bubble car. Citroën markets the Ami across Europe. Renault has the Twizy. KG Motors would be entering an international field that is still forming, with a vehicle priced below most of its rivals. Competition in Japan itself is also sharpening. BYD has announced plans to launch a K-Class EV in Japan by late 2026. Hyundai has already introduced lower-cost EVs, targeting dense urban markets. The window that KG Motors currently occupies may narrow, and the company's ability to scale from 3,300 units to 10,000 annually will determine whether it holds its position or gets absorbed into a broader category shift. The Mibot carries real legal limitations. It holds one passenger, cannot exceed 60 kilometers per hour, and is restricted from roads requiring vehicles with engine capacity above 125 cc. A full Japanese driver's license is required to operate it. Private ownership of vehicles in this category remains uncommon in Japan. Most known deployments are through fleet operators. None of that makes the Mibot less interesting. It makes it more specific, which is precisely the point. Kusuninoi didn't build something for everyone. He built something for the 29% of Japan's population that is 65 or older, for rural residents watching bus routes disappear, for delivery workers navigating tight urban grids. The Mibot isn't trying to replace a family car. It's trying to fill the gap that a family car can't reach. Whether it succeeds long-term will depend on production discipline, regulatory navigation, and whether KG Motors can convert commercial fleet orders into private household adoption. Those are open questions, but the pre-order numbers suggest that the need Kusuninoi identified from years of reading YouTube comments was real, and the $7,000 answer to that need has already found more takers than Japan's largest automaker managed to sell EVs in an entire year. That's a sentence worth sitting with.